Hello, hello. So we're on day 2. Let's let that, it's getting dark out here. So yesterday we talked about noticing when you're being unkind, untruthful, or disrespectful to yourself. And that's something that really needs to be happening as much as possible, because the more you notice it, the more you become aware of it, the more opportunities we have to shift into kindness, honesty, and respect for ourselves. And each opportunity, we have the chance to get curious about what it is that's going on inside of us. And so it's interesting because yesterday I noticed whenever I did this, like I started out the day like super excited, super happy, and then I went to do what I needed to do, and almost immediately I got hit with some frustration. I was tired. It was like my 6th day working in a row, and so like my energy level was about drained anyway. And then there was just like extra neediness going on, and I felt frustrated. And during that frustration that I was feeling within myself, I noticed myself being upset with myself because I was frustrated, if that makes sense. So like whenever I'm feeling frustrated, tired, on edge, like cringe, I judge that in myself. So taking that time yesterday, and I got curious about it. Well, why am I feeling this way? And you really don't want to spend too much time here because it takes you out of your body, which is where the feeling flows. And whenever you're thinking about it, it kind of takes you back into your mind. You can't really fix anything in your mind. But whenever you get curious about it, and you're like, okay, well, I'm tired, and then this trigger happened, it kind of allows you to feel it. Like it makes sense. Once it makes sense, then you can allow it to be there instead of trying to shove it away or change it. And you can just allow it. And this happens a lot to me when I'm tired. Like I know that I'm not going to be like super friendly and over the top great, whenever I'm tired. So knowing that, okay, hey, I'm tired, so we're going to have grace for ourselves today, and just really feel into that tiredness or frustration or whatever it may be. So today's challenge is kind of similar. It's going to be another like kind of creating space sort of challenge. And this one is one that started at the very beginning for me. It was the beginning of me being able to like observe myself instead of getting like wrapped up in my thoughts, my emotions, my mistakes, my behaviors that aren't, preferred. So, and I know we hear this one all the time, like, you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your mistakes. But it's like, how to really say that in a way where you actually get it, and then to be able to separate yourself from your thoughts, your emotions, your mistakes, and be the observer of them. So the best analogy that I can think of is whenever we're looking at the sky, you imagine this beautiful blue sky. That is you. You are the sky. Now, you can look up. Some days there might be a cloud drifting by. Those clouds drifting by are your thoughts. So they're not the sky. They're in the sky, but they're not the sky. They're going to come, they're going to go, and then the sky is going to be there, right? And then to me, emotions are like the storms that come through, or maybe the rainbow that comes after the storm. You know, it is in the sky. And if you look up, it may look like the sky. But it's not the sky. It's going to happen. That energy is going to occur. And then it's going to pass. And then you're going to be back with the sky. So imagining your thoughts like that. Another way that I've heard it described is like, if you were your thoughts, then who is the one thinking them? Who is the one that can like look at them? You know? There's one that is like, whenever you're talking in your head, you know? Like, who's listening? Like, say the color red in your head silently. Like, say red, but don't say it out loud. Say it in your head. You heard it in your head. So who said it and who heard it? That one always is interesting too. But the more we can separate from our thoughts and our emotions, because this is like me yesterday, feeling frustrated, and then feeling frustrated that I was frustrated. It was because I was combining me, like I am frustrated. I am feeling frustration. That's one little shift you can do. Instead of I'm angry, I'm feeling anger. Anger is moving through me right now, you know, but I had identified with that frustration, and like it happened so fast too. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and like I'm a bad person because I feel this way. So there's shame involved in that too. And it happens so fast, it happens so frequently. It used to be like an all the time thing for me. But then I started to separate from my thoughts and then my emotions. So there was a time where I would have thoughts and I would think I was like a terrible person for having those thoughts. But we don't really realize, like, where do our thoughts come from? Because some of these thoughts that I have, it's like, whoa, like, why are you here, you know? How did this happen? I don't want it here. So to me, they come from all kinds of places. So like the way you were raised, the way you grew up, what you learned in school, your friends, your family, the TV, the music you listen to, whenever you go to a store, what people are talking about, like all of this stuff comes in and then it creates our thoughts. So in my opinion, we do not really have control over what thoughts come, other than you can limit what you watch, who you talk to. But that, even if you are limiting those things can come in that you didn't really want to, and then you still have that, you know? It's kind of like whenever you're a kid and you watch a scary movie and then you have nightmares, you know? Like, our thoughts, we don't have control of what pops in here. But what we do have control of is whether or not we identify with that thought. And we say, this is true. So whenever we're having these thoughts, when we're in the overthinking loop, it can be very helpful to just kind of like stop, create some space, figure out if you agree with the thoughts, you know? Oh, instead of saying something bad like, wow, I shouldn't be thinking this, just like, ooh, that's interesting, I wonder where that came from, with curiosity and compassion for yourself, instead of, I'm terrible for having this thought. And it's similar with emotions, you know? Maybe something happens in traffic and we feel angry and frustrated. Like, you're not anger, you're not frustration. You are the vessel it's moving through, and you are the being that gets to feel it. You're the one feeling the thing, you're not the thing. And so whenever we're feeling a way that's not preferred or thinking a way that's not preferred, realizing that that's not actually us, that we are just observing that. And then we can say, oh, is it true? I wonder where it came from, and just really just knowing that you're not a bad, terrible person. It's part of being human. It's part of our experience here. But life was really, really frustrating for me whenever I was identified with my thoughts and my emotions. And what really helped me create that space was first knowing that I'm not my thoughts, then noticing whenever I was identifying with my thoughts or my emotions. And meditation is what this is. This is meditation. It is, you can sit and hum, you can listen to guided meditations, but meditation is so much more than that. It's anytime you're separating yourself from your thoughts and you're observing you thinking your thoughts. You're observing yourself feeling your emotions. That is what meditation is. And so you can meditate. I often meditate like driving down the road. That's when my head gets kind of free. In the shower, I meditate, just feeling the water on my body, noticing the feelings, the sensations inside of my body and the thoughts inside of my head. You can sit and stare at the woods like I often do. And it doesn't have to be like, this long thing where you go on these adventures, is what I like to call them. That's great, and I love that too. But oftentimes meditation can just be you in your normal everyday life, and you're separating yourself from your thoughts and your emotions and allowing yourself to watch yourself think and feel. And I think that once we disidentify with our emotions, especially the ones that we don't prefer or have been taught are not appropriate, it becomes easier to allow yourself to feel them. You're not a bad person because you feel anger. You're feeling anger really because you probably need a boundary, is what that one normally boils down to. But if you get angry, you're feeling anger, and then you identify with that anger, it puts like a wall there where you can't feel it. And the feeling of it is what tells you what boundary you need. So it's like a trap. It's a cycle that you get locked in, and then you just feel even more angry because you never did do that boundary, So, yes, today's challenge is about separating from your thoughts, from your emotions, from your behaviors that you do not prefer. So often we think that we are these things. Because I have a bad thought, I'm a bad person. Because I feel an inappropriate emotion, I'm a bad person. And none of that is true. We all have it. We all do it. We all have these emotions, and they're meant to be a messenger. It's not meant to shame you. So that's today's challenge, is noticing when you're identifying with your thoughts. This happens a lot too with anxiety, I think. Like, we get a thought in our head of like a worst case scenario thing that could play out, and we believe it. We see it. It's so real, like that's gonna happen. We gotta do this, this, and that to make this not happen. Where when we could just say, that's an interesting thought. I wonder where it came from. Now, some of our anxiety is healthy. It keeps us safe, right? So you may need to do an action to keep yourself safe. But at the same time, I feel like so much of our anxiety is just lies. It's not true. So putting that checkpoint in there, like, okay, I'm feeling this way. What are the stories going on inside of my head right now? What meaning am I giving to this situation? And is that actually going to happen? Is it actually likely? Or did I see that in a movie 15 years ago and now I think it's real? Because that happens a lot, you know, like Final Destination. I still have issues driving behind a log truck. So yeah, it's so interesting, our brains and our thoughts. Like, where do they come from, you know? And so to know that we do not have control over what thoughts come in, other than like limiting what we watch. Like if you watch the news all the time, I imagine that your anxiety level is probably higher because you're like putting a bunch of fear in your head all the time. So there are ways that you can, you know, reduce external things. We're not meant to see bombs exploding things and people dying all the time. So whenever we consume ourselves with that, it's no surprise that our thoughts get dark and twisty, you know? But if that's what you like to watch, that's fine too. Know that the thoughts inside your head that are saying like, oh, they're about to kill me, is probably coming from that input, that external input that you are consuming. But yeah, you know, there's so much power, and I think it's such a core thing that I do every day, all the time. Like whenever I'm having thoughts and they're kind of spiraling, I do that same stop sign in my head, like, hey, what's going on here? You know, and not in like a judgy, critical way, but a compassionate way. Like, where did this come from? Is it true? What are other alternatives, especially with the anxiety? Like, what are other ways this could play out? You know, what if we imagine the best case scenario instead of the worst case scenario? Because our brains, whenever they're imagining things, whether it be something terrible is going to happen or something good is going to happen, our brains can't tell the difference between whether it's real or not. It thinks it's real, whether you're imagining it or it is real. So whenever you're stuck in imagining worst case scenarios, why not imagine something good too, you know? But it's so interesting when we do separate, and it's not a constant thing either. Like, none of this is constant. It's maybe eventually it will be, but it's a lot of opportunities to change from the way we were identified from with our thoughts and our emotions to, oh my gosh, someone just fell on my car. It scared me. Adrenaline flowing through my body. Ah. I don't even remember what I was saying. We can change from identifying with our thoughts to knowing that we are not our thoughts and we are not our emotions. We are the thing, the being thinking the thoughts and observing those thoughts. We are the being that feels the emotion and allows it to flow through and gets the message out of it. So you don't want to shoot that messenger. Like, oh, anger is bad. We don't want to feel that. So we're just going to shove it down. That's shooting the messenger. And yeah. So they're all opportunities to disidentify, because you're so much more than your thoughts and your emotions. And thoughts and emotions are so like fluctuating. I don't know if you notice that, but like for me anyway, throughout a day, it's like so many ups and downs. Like I will be feeling great 1 second and then a thought will come in and it'll kind of like bring me down, and I go get curious about it and then imagine something amazing, and then I feel great again, and then something else will happen, and then so it's not like a constant Like, oh, you're gonna just disidentify with your thoughts and your emotions, and then it's gonna be, you don't ever have to do that again. It's a process, it's a practice, and the more you do it, the more it becomes how you function. But things still happen, things still get triggered, even whenever we heal one of our wounds or our, beliefs about ourselves, the unworthy, the not lovable, the not enough. It's layered. So once you heal one, it's like another layer will appear, and you might think, oh, I thought I already did this, but it's not linear. It's not a one-time thing. It's something that we get to do over and over. And with each layer that gets freed, healed, we feel lighter and better more frequently. So whenever I first started this journey, I was in a constant state of anxiety. Like, constant. It was the only emotion, really, other than anger, that I felt. And I was really just a walking, ticking time bomb. And I really didn't like that. I didn't like feeling that way. But the reason it was because I'd never allowed my anger to be. So it was like all this anger inside of me that needed to be processed. And I do believe that if we were to process all of it at once, it would probably take us out. So that's why it's a layered process, at least in my head. So the difference between me 3-4 years ago and now is so insanely different. Like, I still have the triggers, I still feel that anger, but instead of shoving it down and making it bad, I allow it to be there, and then I allow myself to do boundaries now, and like, it's just this process. These practices lead to the next step, and then they all kind of dance together. And it's really a different way of living, because the way we were taught to live was really self-hate. Like, don't listen to yourself, don't allow yourself to feel, but we're humans, and we do. So it's like, do not allow yourself to be yourself. You gotta look this certain way and act this certain way. This self-love is loving every aspect of yourself, regardless of how it looks. People may not like that you're feeling anger, and this is not to say, take your anger out on people. It's allowing yourself to feel it and process it in a healthy way that doesn't harm anybody. And, I really do feel that if we all did this, like, the world would be so much better, because we wouldn't have all this people projecting their anger on other people and taking it out on other people, because they would know how to process it and not feel bad about being that way, because it is an emotion that we have. We all feel it, and it's okay. It's okay to feel angry. It just means you need a boundary. We're going to get into that a little later in this series. This one I feel like I'm babbling on about, and it's kind of like more of a concept thing, kind of out there a little, but also, like, everybody says it, you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions. Like, well, no shit, right? But how many times a day are you getting pulled into that thought cycle? And then you kind of start feeling a certain way, and then you get pulled into that. Like, can you create space during that? And it may not be initially. I know for me, what happens is, like, I'll get pulled into it, and it'll be like, 10 minutes of me being in it, and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, we gotta separate here and get curious and be compassionate and have grace, and then allow the feeling, allow the emotion. It used to be days I would be stuck in it before, and initially they were like, feel your feelings. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? Like, I am feeling my feelings, like, But there are ways, and we're going to do that. That's like my number one thing, is how to feel your feelings, how to feel your emotions, because that's the thing that nobody talks about. And it's like the most important thing. Again, it's another kind of concept thing, but it's so important. But the time gap between, like, how long you stay in that spiral starts to shorten. You remember, oh yes, I'm not my thought, I'm not that emotion, I'm gonna allow it to be there and get curious about it. Normally, whenever you go to the emotion and you allow yourself to feel it, it's like 90 seconds for it to move through. But if you don't allow yourself to feel it, it gets stored somewhere and creates all kinds of havoc inside your body. Makes you do crazy shit that you're like, why did I do that? So, yeah, the more you do it, the less time it takes for you to disidentify and start getting curious, and the less time that you stay in that spiral. So if you're still stuck in that spiral for however much time, that's okay. These things, they don't stop coming. So the game isn't to make the thoughts stop, make the emotions stop. It's to get curious about them and compassionate with them and allow yourself to feel them. Allow yourself to know that this thought is just passing by, you know, and not get wrapped up, tied in, pulled in, sucked in. And when you do, it's okay. We're trying to shorten that amount of time. And that's really the goal, because shit happens. It's not going to stop. We're going to feel a certain way about it. And that's okay. It's the ability to be there with that feeling instead of saying, oh, I don't want to feel this way. I am bad because I feel this way, and then trying to make it go away. That's what we're trying to avoid and kind of shorten that suppression. I still do it. Every time something comes up that I don't want to feel, frustration, anger, sadness, it's like, oh, why am I feeling this again? How do I make it go away? How can I fix it? And then I remember, oh yeah, we're just gonna allow it. But it took 30, 40 years learning the way we've learned. It's going to take more than a day to unlearn it and learn something new. So that's today's challenge: separating from your thoughts and your emotions and your mistakes. You are not those things. You are so much more. And really, this question boils down to also, who are you? Who are you without any titles? You know, who are you if you disidentify from your thoughts and your emotions? Like, can you feel that core essence of who you are whenever you close your eyes and really, you know, you might be a mom, you might be whatever your profession is, sister, friend, blah, all of these things. Take all of that away. Take your thoughts away and all of your emotions, all of the behaviors you've ever done. Take all that away, and who are you? And really tune into that and know that that's who you are. It's like this, it's a ball of love. Like this energy, you know? You can imagine yourself across all timelines too. You when you were a kid, you when you were a teenager, you whenever you were in your 20s, you when you were in your 30s, and that same energy, that same feeling, that like your soul, right? That's who you actually are. That's the being that feels the emotions and sees the thoughts. And getting in touch with that is super powerful. And the more you can do that, especially whenever we're spiraling into overthinking or trying to suppress emotions, really tuning into that, who you are, is very powerful. And to know that, like, there's nobody else here like you. You are completely unique. The chances of you being here are so slim. I think it was like 1 in 100 million or 200 million. You know, the chances of the egg and the sperm getting together, or your parents getting together and their parents getting together and all of that. Like, all these things had to happen for you to be here. And so often we're like, oh, we don't belong, we're not worthy, we're not enough. But like, we are this magnificent creation, and that is enough. Like, you made it. 1 out of 200 million chances, you know? So like, really feeling into that and knowing that no thought that you could ever have negates that. The emotions that you feel do not negate that. And just trying to remember that whenever you're feeling really angry or frustrated. And then allowing yourself to have these thoughts. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're bad. Where did they come from? Where did they go? Where did they come from? Kind of joke. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it. See you tomorrow. Bye.